Some Roosevelt dimes could be worth way more than 10 cents, and today we'll look at 4 of them: 1966, 1975, 1981, and 1989. Each of these coins can carry hidden value if they have rare errors or are in top condition, and we'll start with the 1966 dime. The US dime has always carried with it more history and mystery than its small size might suggest, and the 1966 dime in particular is one of those coins that continues to fascinate collectors and surprise those who never thought twice about loose change. On the surface, a 1966 dime may look like nothing more than an ordinary 10-cent piece, but for those who know what to look for, it can be an extraordinary discovery. In rare cases, a 1966 dime has been valued at anywhere between $65,000 and $135,000. An incredible leap from its humble face value. This dramatic jump in value is not by accident. It is the result of unique historical context, minting conditions, and rare variations that make this coin far more than ordinary pocket change. To truly appreciate the significance of the 1966 dime, one must first look at the broader story of American coinage in the mid-1960s. Just a year earlier, in 1965, the U.S. Mint underwent one of the most dramatic transitions in its history. The nation was facing a silver shortage, and the increasing value of silver was threatening the stability of U.S. coinage. Dimes, quarters, and half dollars had all been made with 90% silver up until that point, but rising metal prices meant that the silver content in these coins was becoming worth more than the coin's face value. This caused people to hoard coins, pulling silver out of circulation and creating massive shortages in everyday commerce. To combat this crisis, the U.S. Mint made the decision to remove silver from the dime and quarter starting in 1965, instead producing them from a clad composition of copper and nickel. The 1966 dime was part of this new era of coinage, and it carried with it the weight of controversy and public skepticism. Many Americans initially disliked the new clad coins, calling them sandwich coins because of their layered copper-nickel appearance. They lacked the same luster and weight of silver coins, and to the general public, they felt cheaper and less substantial. However, what few realized at the time was that this transition and the massive production runs required to replace silver coins also created conditions for rare minting errors and unusual varieties that would later skyrocket in value. Adding to the intrigue, the Coinage Act of 1965 suspended the use of mint marks for several years. From 1965 through 1967, no U.S. coins carried mint marks, meaning that whether a coin was struck in Philadelphia, Denver, or San Francisco, it bore no identifying mark. This was intended to discourage collectors from hoarding coins during a time of transition, but it also created confusion and added a layer of mystery for numismatists. For the 1966 dime, this lack of mint marks makes it more challenging to pinpoint its origin, which in turn has made certain varieties even more desirable. In terms of design, the 1966 dime features the familiar image of President Franklin D. Roosevelt on the obverse. Designed by John R. Sinek, this portrait has been used on the dime since 1946, honoring Roosevelt for his leadership during the Great Depression and World War II, as well as his association with the March of Dimes campaign to fight polio. On the reverse, the design showcases a torch flanked by olive and oak branches, symbolizing liberty, peace, and strength. While the design itself was not new in 1966, the context of its striking during this transitional period makes it especially significant. What makes certain 1966 dimes worth staggering amounts, up to $135,000, while most remain only 10 cents? The answer lies in condition, rarity, and error varieties. Coins from this period were produced in huge quantities to ensure enough circulation coinage, and because they were intended for everyday use, most of them quickly became worn, scratched, and damaged. Finding a 1966 dime in pristine condition, graded at the highest levels such as MS-67 or MS-68, is extremely rare. Professional grading services like PCGS and NGC have only certified a small handful of such coins, and when they come to auction, collectors are willing to pay astonishing prices to secure them. Error coins from 1966 are another major factor driving value. This period of transition was prone to mistakes at the mint. Off-center strikes, die clashes, double strikes, and other unusual minting errors are highly sought after. Each one is unique, and because no two error coins are exactly alike, their rarity only grows with time. For example, a 1966 dime with a dramatic off-center strike that still shows Roosevelt's portrait can command massive attention at auction. Similarly, transitional errors, coins struck on leftover silver planchets instead of the new clad composition, are considered legendary rarities. A dime from 1966 accidentally struck on a 90% silver planchet would instantly be a six-figure coin. One of the most fascinating aspects of the 1966 dime is how accessible it seems. Unlike ancient gold coins or limited commemorative issues, this dime was made for everyday use and was carried by millions of people in their pockets, purses, and cash registers. The fact that something so common could, under the right circumstances, be worth between $65,000 and $135,000 creates a sense of wonder and possibility. Collectors and even casual coin enthusiasts are drawn to this idea, checking their change and inherited coin jars in the hopes of stumbling across one of these extraordinary finds. Auction history adds to the story. There have been documented cases where 1966 dimes in exceptional condition or with dramatic errors have sold for jaw-dropping sums. A gem-quality example in near-perfect preservation once fetched tens of thousands of dollars, and rare varieties have exceeded the six-figure mark. Each of these sales reinforces the message that hidden treasures still exist in U.S. coinage, waiting to be discovered by someone who takes the time to look more closely. The 1966 dime also carries historical significance as part of the broader narrative of America's move away from silver coinage. It stands as a marker of the nation's economic realities during the 1960s and the mint's response to a crisis that threatened the very circulation of money. Owning a rare 1966 dime is not only about holding something valuable, but also about possessing a tangible piece of that history, a coin that represents a turning point in American numismatics. Collectors often talk about the thrill of the hunt, and the 1966 dime embodies that perfectly. For some, the dream is to find a high-grade survivor tucked away in a collection, while for others, it's the pursuit of elusive error varieties that drives the passion. The excitement comes not only from the potential financial reward, though values ranging from $65,000 to $135,000 certainly capture attention, but also from the sense of discovery and connection to history. In the end, the 1966 dime proves that size and face value don't dictate importance or worth. A tiny 10-cent coin, struck during a time of transition and uncertainty, has grown into a sought-after rarity that commands respect in the numismatic community. Its story is one of change, adaptation, and unexpected treasure, reminding us all to take a closer look at the coins we often overlook, because hidden among them might be a piece of history, a rare gem, or even a six-figure prize waiting to be recognized. The 1966 dime is more than just money. It's a piece of American history, a symbol of change, and for a lucky few, a life-changing discovery. From its place in the tumultuous 1960s to its remarkable journey into the world of high-value collectibles, it shows that even the smallest coins can carry the biggest surprises. The 1981 one-dime coin is one of those small treasures of American currency that, at first glance, feels so ordinary you might never think twice about it. After all, a dime is just 10 cents, something we use daily without much thought. But when we take a closer look at certain examples of the 1981 dime, the story changes dramatically. This tiny piece of metal, often forgotten at the bottom of a pocket or left in a change jar, can sometimes carry a value so astonishing that it can rival the price of a luxury car or even a down payment on a house. Collectors and coin enthusiasts have uncovered specimens of the 1981 dime that are valued between $55,000 and $126,000, a price range that immediately captures attention and sparks curiosity. How could such a small coin, minted in large numbers during a relatively recent period, hold such immense worth? The answer lies in rarity, condition, errors, and the passion of collectors who chase after the unique and extraordinary. The design of the 1981 dime is the same familiar image that Americans have carried since 1946, featuring the portrait of Franklin D. Roosevelt. Sculpted by John R. Sinek, this design honors the president who guided the nation through the Great Depression and World War II. On the obverse side, Roosevelt's dignified profile is paired with inscriptions that include the word liberty, the motto "In God We Trust," and the year 1981. Below the neckline, Sinek's initials JS are subtly inscribed. The reverse design carries the iconic imagery of a torch in the center, flanked by an olive branch on the left to symbolize peace and an oak branch on the right to symbolize strength and independence. Above the design runs United States of America. Below is the denomination 1 dime, and in the center is the Latin phrase e pluribus unum, meaning out of many, 1 by 1981. The U.S. Mint was striking dimes in massive quantities, with coins minted in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The Philadelphia and Denver facilities produced millions for circulation, while San Francisco produced proof coins for collectors. On the surface, the sheer volume of dimes produced might make it hard to believe any one coin from this year could be valuable, but the reality of coin collecting is that rarity isn't always about how many were minted, but rather how many survived in perfect or unique condition. When we talk about the 1981 dime reaching extraordinary values, much of the conversation revolves around two things: condition and errors. The majority of 1981 dimes entered circulation and endured the usual wear and tear of everyday use. They became scratched, dinged, and lost their original mint luster. But some examples escaped circulation and were preserved in pristine condition. These high-grade coins, when authenticated and graded by professional services, can achieve designations like MS 67 or MS 68. At these lofty grades, the coin's surfaces remain nearly flawless, with every detail of Roosevelt's portrait and the reverse design crisp and sharp. The rarity of such well-preserved examples drives demand, and demand drives prices sky-high. Collectors competing at auction for one of these elite coins have pushed their values into that incredible range of $55,000 to $126,000. Error coins from 1981 also hold a special place in the hearts of numismatists. Minting is a highly precise process, but mistakes do happen, and when they do, the results can be spectacular. Some 1981 dimes have been found with off-center strikes, where the image is misaligned and part of the coin is left blank. Depending on how dramatic the misalignment is, such coins can attract serious attention. There are also double-strike errors, where the coin has been struck twice and shows overlapping or shadow-like images, creating a fascinating and highly collectible anomaly. Even more dramatic are wrong planchet errors, where a dime design is accidentally struck onto a blank intended for another denomination, such as a penny or a foreign coin. These wrong planchet dimes are extremely rare and instantly coveted when they surface. Proof coins minted at San Francisco in 1981 add another layer of intrigue. Proofs are struck with specially prepared dies that give them a mirror-like finish, intended only for collectors. While most proof coins are carefully handled, a few survive in exceptional condition, with perfect mirror fields and frosted devices. These flawless proofs, graded PR70, can command extraordinary prices at auction. And because proof coins are struck in smaller numbers compared to circulation strikes, collectors are always eager to add them to their collections. Auction houses have provided some of the most exciting stories surrounding the 1981 dime. In one memorable sale, a high-grade mint-state example of the coin crossed the auction block. Its surfaces were nearly untouched, its luster radiant, and its strike bold. Bidders quickly recognized its quality, and the price soared past expectations, eventually settling well into the tens of thousands. In another instance, an off-center strike error dime drew attention because the date was still visible despite the dramatic misalignment. Collectors know that errors with a visible date are far more valuable than those without, and the bidding war reflected this, pushing the coin into five-figure territory. The emotional side of these discoveries cannot be ignored. For many collectors, the thrill lies not just in the financial value but in the chase itself. Finding a rare 1981 dime in pocket change or in a roll of coins from the bank feels like striking gold. Everyday people sometimes stumble across these treasures by accident, not realizing at first what they hold until a professional confirms the rarity. Stories circulate of ordinary individuals who turn a humble dime into tens of thousands of dollars, and these stories keep the excitement alive for everyone. The context of the early 1980s also adds depth to the narrative of this coin. It was a time of economic change in the United States, with inflation, shifting markets, and the beginning of new policies shaping the nation's future. Against this backdrop, the 1981 dime carried on the tradition of Roosevelt's legacy, a reminder of stability and strength in the face of challenges. That connection to history adds intangible value to the coin, making it more than just metal. it becomes a piece of the nation's story. The fact that a dime from 1981, something so modern compared to centuries-old coins, can achieve such extraordinary values shows how vibrant and unpredictable the world of coin collecting can be. It reinforces the idea that every coin in circulation, no matter how common it may appear, holds the potential for rarity. It teaches us that paying attention, doing research, and understanding what makes a coin valuable can unlock incredible opportunities. When collectors look at the 1981 dime, they don't just see a small silver-colored coin. They see the possibility of rarity hidden within ordinary objects. They see the craftsmanship of the mint, the quirks of the production process, and the preservation of history through something as simple as 10 cents. They see the potential for a coin worth $55,000 to $126,000, a sum that transforms the ordinary into the extraordinary. The enduring allure of the 1981 dime lies in this blend of history, rarity, and possibility. For seasoned numismatists, it's a chance to add a significant piece to their collections. For newcomers, it's an invitation to start looking more closely at the coins in their hands. And for everyone, it's a reminder that treasures often hide in plain sight, waiting to be discovered. The 1975 one-dime coin is one of the most fascinating stories in the world of American coinage, not because of how common it appears, but because of how rare and valuable certain versions of it have become. At first glance, the 1975 dime seems like nothing more than an ordinary Roosevelt dime, something you might hand over at the counter for change or find at the bottom of a drawer mixed with pennies and nickels. But when collectors talk about this coin, the story shifts dramatically. Some examples of the 1975 dime, especially the rare error varieties, have been known to reach jaw-dropping values at auction, falling in the range of $60,000 to $130,000. That figure alone makes even the most casual collector stop and reconsider the tiny piece of metal that represents just 10 cents in face value. To understand the 1975 dime, we need to look at its background. By 1975, the United States Mint was already long into the production of the Roosevelt dime design, which had been introduced in 1946 to honor President Franklin D. Roosevelt shortly after his passing. The design, created by chief engraver John R. Sinek, had become iconic. On the obverse, Roosevelt's left-facing portrait appears with the inscriptions Liberty, Indiana God We Trust, the year of issue, and Sinek's initials JS placed subtly at the neckline. The reverse shows the torch of liberty in the center, flanked by an olive branch symbolizing peace on the left and an oak branch symbolizing strength and independence on the right. Above runs the phrase United States of America. Below is the denomination one dime, and in the center is the motto E pluribus unum, meaning out of many, one. During 1975, dimes were struck at multiple mints, including Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The Philadelphia and Denver mints struck coins for circulation, while San Francisco primarily produced proof coins intended for collectors. Here's where things get very interesting. In 1975, the mint prepared proof sets as usual, but none were supposed to feature dimes dated 1975. Instead, the San Francisco Mint was scheduled to begin producing proof coins with the dual-dated 1776 to 1976 bicentennial designs. That means that a 1975 proof dime from San Francisco should not exist. Yet somehow a few slipped through. These 1975 no-S proof dimes are among the most coveted error coins in American numismatics. What makes them so valuable is not just the fact that they're rare, but the fact that they're true minting anomalies. The San Francisco Mint inadvertently used a die missing the S mint mark, and a small number of proof dimes were struck with the date 1975 and released in proof sets before the error was caught. For collectors, this kind of mistake is the ultimate treasure. With only a handful known to exist, competition to own one drives prices into the stratosphere. That's why the value of these coins falls between $60,000 and $130,000 depending on condition, making them one of the most remarkable modern rarities in U.S. coinage. Beyond the famous no-S proof variety, 1975 dimes also include circulation strikes from Philadelphia and Denver, and even these can carry substantial premiums if they survive in exceptionally high grades. Because most circulated heavily, finding a pristine example with original mint luster, sharp details, and virtually no marks is a major challenge. Coins that grade at MS-67 or MS-68 are considered elite, And when such examples appear at auction, collectors compete fiercely. While they won't reach the astronomical levels of the no-S proof, they can still surprise with impressive results. The stories surrounding auction appearances of the 1975 dime only add to its allure. When one of the rare no-S proofs crossed the block at a major auction, the bidding was electric. Collectors and investors alike recognized its rarity and historical significance. As the price climbed past $50,000, the room buzzed with excitement. By the time the gavel fell, the coin had sold for well into six figures, proving that this dime was far more than small change. It was a numismatic legend. Stories like this continue to inspire collectors to search through old proof sets or inherited collections, hoping against hope that they might uncover one of these incredible treasures. For the everyday collector, the idea of a dime worth as much as $130,000 is both thrilling and humbling. It highlights one of the greatest lessons in coin collecting. Never underestimate the value of a coin based on its face value alone. The tiniest details, a missing mint mark, an unusual strike, a perfectly preserved surface, can transform the ordinary into something extraordinary. It also shows the unpredictable nature of minting. Even in an era when the U.S. Mint had perfected its processes, mistakes still happened, and those mistakes now live on as prized artifacts. The appeal of the 1975 dime also extends beyond its monetary value. It represents a moment in time when the United States was preparing to celebrate its bicentennial. The decision to switch to dual-dated 1776 to 1976 coinage for the anniversary was part of a broader movement to commemorate the nation's history. The accidental survival of a 1975 proof dime without the S mint mark adds an ironic twist to that story. Instead of looking back at 2 centuries of history, this little coin reminds us that history itself can sometimes be written by accident, through oversight, and through the quirks of human error. Collectors often talk about the emotional impact of owning a coin like this. It's not just about the money, it's about the sense of holding a piece of history, a piece of the unexpected, and a connection to something greater. When you have a 1975 no-S dime in hand, you're not just looking at metal. You're looking at a story of rarity, chance, and the human side of minting. That's why these coins are often described as treasures, because their value extends far beyond their physical form. For those hoping to find one, the search continues. While the odds are slim, many collectors still check proof sets from the 1970s, particularly 1975, carefully examining each dime for that missing S mint mark. Others focus on circulation strikes, chasing after the finest examples they can find, sending them to grading services in hopes of receiving top-tier grades. The thrill of discovery keeps the hobby alive, and the 1975 dime is a perfect example of how even the smallest coin can carry the biggest stories. The legacy of the 1975 dime proves one important truth. Coin collecting is not about size or denomination. It's about rarity, history, and condition. A 10-cent coin can be worth $60,000 to $130,000 when all the right factors align. That's the magic of numismatics, where ordinary objects become extraordinary symbols of history, chance, and value. And it reminds all of us that every coin we handle has the potential to surprise us, if only we look closely enough. The 1989 one-dime coin might look like just another small piece of American currency that passes through countless hands every day, but beneath its simple appearance lies a story that makes it one of the most fascinating modern coins in the world of numismatics. On the surface, it carries the familiar design we've all known for decades: Franklin D. Roosevelt on the obverse and the torch flanked by branches on the reverse. But when you dive deeper into the details of the 1989 dime, a different picture emerges. Certain examples of this coin, especially those that have survived in pristine condition or those struck with unique minting errors, have reached jaw-dropping values, with some selling in the range of $48,000 to $108,000. That's right, what most people think of as just 10 cents has the potential to transform into a life-changing discovery. To understand why the 1989 dime holds such importance, it helps to start with its background. By 1989, the Roosevelt dime had already been in circulation for over 40 years. First introduced in 1946 to honor President Roosevelt after his passing, the design by John R. Sinek had become a staple of U.S. coinage. On the obverse, Roosevelt's profile appears in sharp relief, with liberty inscribed to the left, the motto "I in God we trust" placed beneath his chin, and the year 1989 positioned to the right. Below Roosevelt's neckline, Cynic's initials JS can be seen, a small tribute to the man who created one of the most enduring coin designs in American history. On the reverse, the central torch symbolizes liberty, with an olive branch to the left representing peace and an oak branch to the right symbolizing strength. Encircling the design are the inscriptions United States of America, E pluribus unum, and 1 dime. From a mintage standpoint, the 1989 dime was produced in massive numbers by the Philadelphia and Denver mints, with additional proof coins struck in San Francisco. Tens of millions were released into circulation, which makes the idea of finding one worth tens of thousands of dollars seem almost impossible at first glance. But coin collecting doesn't work solely on the law of averages. Value in numismatics is not only about how many coins were minted, but how many survive in exceptional condition or how many display a unique characteristic that sets them apart from the millions of others. High-grade examples of the 1989 dime are where the real magic happens. Most coins released into circulation become worn, scratched, or dulled over time. However, a select few avoided the rigors of daily use, preserved in mint sets or simply tucked away before they could be damaged. These coins retain their sharp details, blazing luster, and near-flawless surfaces. When submitted for professional grading, some have been certified at extremely high levels, such as MS-67 or MS-68. At these grades, collectors recognize just how rare such coins are, and when 2 or more passionate bidders want the same piece at auction, prices skyrocket. This is how the 1989 dime transitions from being worth 10 cents to being worth anywhere between $48,000 and $108,000. But condition isn't the only path to incredible value. Errors and varieties also make the 1989 dime an exciting target for collectors. Minting is an exacting process, but mistakes occasionally occur, and those mistakes can turn ordinary coins into spectacular rarities. Some of the most coveted errors for this year include off-center strikes, where the design is shifted noticeably away from its normal position, leaving part of the coin blank. The more dramatic the off-center error, especially when the date is still visible, the more valuable the coin becomes. Another fascinating type of error is the double strike. This happens when a coin is struck more than once, resulting in overlapping images that create a ghostly or shadow-like appearance. Collectors love these anomalies because no two are exactly alike, making each error coin unique. A wrong planchet error is even more dramatic. This occurs when the dime's design is accidentally struck on a blank meant for another denomination, such as a penny or even a foreign coin. These mistakes are exceptionally rare, and when authenticated, they can bring values well into the upper end of that $48,000 to $108,000 range. Proof coins from San Francisco in 1989 add another layer to the story. Proofs are struck with special dies to create a mirror-like finish and frosted details, intended primarily for collectors. While most proofs are handled carefully, some stand out as near-perfect specimens, receiving PR70 grades. These flawless proofs can fetch astonishing prices, as their rarity combined with their beauty makes them irresistible to collectors. Even a slight variation, such as a cameo contrast between the frosted devices and mirror fields, can dramatically influence value. Auction records provide some of the most compelling evidence of the 1989 dime's true worth. In one instance, a flawless high-grade example crossed the block and attracted multiple bidders who were determined not to let it slip away. The competition drove the price well beyond initial estimates, ultimately landing deep into the 5-figure range. Stories like these fuel the dreams of collectors everywhere, inspiring them to keep searching through pocket change, bank rolls, and old collections, hoping to find that one extraordinary coin. The human side of these stories is equally compelling. There have been cases where ordinary people, with no background in coin collecting, stumbled upon a rare dime tucked away in a family heirloom or inherited coin jar. At first, they didn't realize what they had, but after consulting with experts, they learned the shocking truth. That dime sitting at the bottom of a box or resting unnoticed in a drawer wasn't worth 10 cents. It was worth tens of thousands of dollars. The emotional roller coaster of that discovery is powerful, transforming something ordinary into something life-changing. What makes the 1989 dime even more interesting is the historical context of the time. The late 1980s was a period of change and transition in the United States, from shifting economic landscapes to new cultural movements. The Roosevelt dime, unchanged in design since its introduction, symbolized continuity amidst change. For collectors, owning a pristine or error example of the 1989 dime isn't just about its financial value. It's about holding a piece of that era's story in their hands. The lesson of the 1989 dime is clear: never overlook the small things. Coins we take for granted can hide secrets that only reveal themselves to those who pay attention. For every handful of worn, ordinary dimes, there could be one extraordinary survivor worth between $48,000 and $108,000. That possibility is what makes coin collecting so exciting. It transforms a daily object into a treasure hunt, and it keeps collectors engaged year after year. The 1989 dime reminds us that value is often hidden beneath the surface. It isn't just a piece of copper-nickel alloy. It's a testament to history, a product of precision, and sometimes a lucky mistake that became immortalized in metal. For those who find one of these rare examples, it represents not only financial gain but also the thrill of discovery. So the next time a dime crosses your path, take a closer look. Pay attention to the details, the condition, the way it was struck. That small coin might be worth much more than you think. And for the 1989 dime, that worth could be extraordinary, ranging anywhere from $48,000 to $108,000, turning what most see as pocket change into a once-in-a-lifetime prize.